We are going to have a new look Big 12, and gracious, there is a lot of movement that is available as we are welcoming in the 4 corner schools to a conference that already was just getting used to, having Cincinnati, having UCF, having Houston, having BYU. I mean, this is a brand new landscape. So, what do you think the ceiling is? But I'll throw to you first. Utah was 8-5 last season. They were, for little spurts, competitive against the very best teams in the conference, the same way that we were expecting Utah to be. They beat USC because that's what Utah does under Kyle Whittingham. What do you think the ceiling is for the Utes as we look into 2024?
I mean, in some spots, they're favored to win the Big 12. A lot of this depends on Cam Rising. We haven't really seen him in about a year and a half, but if Rising is actually healthy and looking good, Utah is one of those teams that was just sneakily injured last year. I mean, their injury report was almost impossible to really keep track of. I tried my best. It was like every week, it's like, who the hell is this new guy? This is crazy. And Whittingham's like, we have a cloning machine over here, so we're actually going to be okay, just not optimal level of Utah. And they still that game against Colorado was insane. It was like Utah QB5 against Colorado QB2, who's basically like a QB5 anywhere else.
Was that the pig farmer game?
Mm-hmm. Yes. No. Right? The pig farmer was out. Pig farmer beat USC.
Yeah, Barnes was their third or fourth QB.
Yeah, this was like they did lose Lamani Dumuni last night. I saw on Twitter that Steve Barlow of 24/7 Sports had that, who's one of their linebackers. But they just have so many guys back who I think could have gone pro had they had a nice 2023 season, but they didn't because they all got injured. So, I mean, they're kind of my Big 12 favorite right now.
Same. I mean, I think they could win the Big 12. I think that I just have a lot of faith in Kyle Whittingham and that staff knowing what they do year in and year out. And they were beat to hell last year. They had a lot of injuries. So even if they just get normal injury luck and things balance out in that league where there is no elite team, I think Utah right off the jump could prove to be the best of the bunch next year. So I do think that's their ceiling, Big 12 champion playoff berth.
Kyle Whittingham is maybe one of the most underrated coaches. I think we say this every single year. They're always overlooked. They were in a conference and overlooked where people had significant advantages over them. Now they go to a league where they should come in with better resources than a large portion of the teams they're competing against. Why wouldn't we say there should be a big step forward again? Again, you kind of have to trust the history of what you've seen with this program.
Mm-hmm. 9.5 is our win total, but we are juiced to the over, -122 to the over, +100 to the under over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Where's Isaac at? I know Isaac's always in the tailgate. Isaac's been waiting for us to talk about the Cyclones. All right. So Iowa State in 2023 went 7-6, but no one who got their eyes on Rocco Becht is going to sit here and say that the future ain't bright for the Cyclones. Now, we've got some staff changes that, of course, we're going to take note of. And, we got to take stock of, how this team is going to be able to flip the results in close games, 1-3 in close games, as you see here on the screen. Danny, where are you at with Iowa State, a program that now we've just kind of gotten used to Matt Campbell? We were trying to move Matt Campbell on to the next good job for a long time. Now he's just kind of there at Iowa State. And I think that this is a season where in a reset Big 12, Iowa State fans are looking for a step forward. Do you see it in the cards?
I like Rocco Becht. I like his dad a lot, Anthony. Lost their offensive coordinator. This is one of those situations. I don't even like to say this because I don't like feeling like you're picking on certain programs, but I felt like Matt Campbell probably should have left after that run they had. Go back and look at the past 25, 30 years of Iowa State football, and it's a whole lot of 6-win seasons or worse. And I just wonder if they can recapture that 3 or 4 year run they had when they were 8+ and they were a very, very trendy pick to make the playoff a few years ago. I think it's a challenging place to win. I think you'll see more of the same of what you've seen the last couple of years. Is that unfair? Is that too harsh?
No,
it's pretty grounded, actually. Like that's really what that program is typically. When they do overachieve, I think it's a nice combination of quarterback, which they seem to have in Becht. And we can at least assume he has some base level of talent because he's beaten out J.J. Cole, who a lot of teams did like and stuck with Iowa State. Experience, like this team returns a ton of experience. They seem to have good buy-in. Like they held on to Dom Orange, who's like a really, really nice, especially by Big 12 standards, like really nice nose guard. He didn't hit the portal. Like that's, I'm reading into that. It's like, okay, like they got really nice players who will probably play in the NFL who are still buying in. And the schedule's like not that bad. You know, I also think this team was better close to the end of the year than it was early in the year, especially with the whole gambling investigation stuff they had to overcome.
First of all, I haven't seen Isaac in the chat since last week, since the Cyclones got knocked out of the tournament by the Illini because they just weren't good enough. And then I don't remember what happened in the Elite Eight after that. I blacked out, but it's just clearly he's been embarrassed ever since because he was talking a lot of trash. As for the football team that Isaac supports, like I'm kind of with you guys. Like I don't have like in the Big 12 again. There's room for anybody to step up and have a big year. I think it's just. I don't know if I'm buying in on the Cyclones. I think that they are a rock solid team. They are not a team that really strikes me as elite. I do like Becht. I do like the coaching staff. I think they've done a good job. I know their fans are really high on Abu Sama, the running back, but he was somebody who was getting like 7 carries a game last year. He is not like a feature every down back.
Yeah.
If he becomes more of a bigger role in that offense, does he have the same kind of production, or is it just, so there are questions I have that they need to be answered, but it's like the bottom's not going to fall out on this program. They're going to get to a bowl game. It's just how much better than 7-5 are they going to be? Are they going to be 8-4, 9-3? If they get some fumble luck, if they get some injury luck, if they win some coin tosses, for sure they can. It's one of those things where you're going to have to rely on getting lucky in some of these spots for Iowa State to hit that ceiling.
Who are your bottom 5 teams in the Big 12? Just off top of the dome: Arizona State, Cincinnati, BYU, Colorado, and
Baylor.
Those are my 5. They only dodge. I think they only play one of those. No, 2. They get Baylor and they get Cincinnati. They don't get Colorado. They don't get BYU.
I don't think the margins for the bottom of the Big 12 are the same as other conferences. And while they
Correct.
might be the bottom 5 teams, I just think that they are that bottom pack that you just rolled off are much closer to the middle tier than you have in other conferences.
Fair. Can we flip it though? Like there's a defined top for us. Like Kansas State, Utah, Kansas, they have to play all 3 of those.
That's
and then like they also get Texas Tech. They also get.
So we're talking about Kansas as a top tier team in the power conference. Like,
I was about to say,
exactly.
Can we? But I know he just got a new contract, but I hope Lance Leipold clips that and goes and asks for a raise, because we were asked name the 5 worst teams in the Big 12, and even before we put them in the top tier, Kansas wasn't one of the 5 worst. Like you look at the history, that is just the job Lance Leipold has done. So yeah, he should probably go ask for another raise.
Like a month ago, we did the exercise, like how many teams can win the Big 12? And I think we came up with like 9 out of the 16.
Yeah, it was 9 or 10
are conceivable. Yeah.
Seven
schedule's like not crazy easy.
Yeah, 7.5 is our win total, plus 116 to the over. That seems high.
Under, I think 7-5.
Same.
Yeah.
That seems sensible. All right, we are getting crunched for time, so I'll just say, Tom, you get to pick Baylor, Cincinnati, or Colorado. Who's interesting among that group as a turnaround team?
Gee, Baylor, Cincinnati, or Colorado? Which one's interesting, huh? I think I'll go with Colorado. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Warren Sapp's there now, so you have to expect there'll be a 7-win jump at minimum. But it's like this is going to be a key. Like there is, forgetting the personnel, forgetting all the off the field stuff. Like Dion now has spent a year as the head coach at Colorado. He's going into year 2 as well. Like this is his more experienced kind of. He knows what to deal with. Do we see an improvement from him as far as being a coach and a leader of the program, and not just as a brand kind of, front forward facing CEO selling the program? Do we see him grow as a coach? Do we see Shadur grow as a player? Because Shadur is talented, but he has flaws and he needs to work on them. So we need to see that happen. We need to see if that offensive line can improve. We need to see if they can get anything from that defense, because that's one of the things we didn't talk about a ton last year, but that defense was not exactly doing them many favors itself. Travis Hunter, can he stay healthy? Because we haven't seen him be able to do that for a full season. He took that shot last year, missed time. If he's going to still be playing both ways, can he stay on the field for every single game? Because he is the best player on that team. And if Colorado is going to take a step forward, Travis Hunter needs to be on the field as much as possible and live up to that hype. So it's a very interesting team. We will hear a lot about them either way. There is a chance they take a step forward, but there's also a chance things are exactly the same.
So they went 0-6 to close the season. They start 4-2. They went 0-6. But in reviewing that path, they played some close games, some close, lower scoring games against some good teams. And I remember being very, obviously confused by that based on the way that things had started, based on, the way that that team absolutely could not get a stop to save its life against Stanford in that game that, basically defined the heartbreak and the disappointment that would follow from the Buffs. But when you're hanging in there against Oregon State, when you're playing Arizona, to a 1-score game, and then obviously Utah, shell of itself, but the cloning machine was working. I think it is interesting to go into that 0-6 finish and look at those small margins. And if we're going to point to all the times that these other teams that we've got on the turnaround teams were able to flip it, Tom, maybe some of those marginal improvements can help Colorado be able to flip some of those results as well.
But you know what I hear when you were going over the games that they were close in and the games they couldn't get stops in? Feels like a team that gets up for the big games and doesn't pay much attention to the details when they're playing the teams they think they're supposed to win.
That is a valid criticism.
I do feel like there was some garbage time points too that made some of those games close. Like USC was pretty comfortable in that game, and they kept.
Oh, I didn't
41-7, wasn't it at halftime?
Yeah, like UCLA that's probably the most dominant 12-point win you're ever going to see as far as physically whipping somebody. That was insane. So here's the problem. Guys, their Final Four games at Texas Tech, host Utah, at Kansas, host Oklahoma State. You better be bowl eligible by Halloween. Just saying.
That's fair. That's tough.
And they get North Dakota State in the non-conference.
They got a great quarterback. They got a great athlete.
They got Warren Sapp.
They got Warren Sapp. It's just hard to trust. And I would love to be wrong. It's great. I think people, come at Bud, they come at me for being haters of Colorado. It would be fantastic for business if Colorado is 9-10 win team. I mean, if they were in the playoff conversation, it'd be great for us. I just don't know how you trust. There was a lot of dysfunction last year. There's a lot of things. I know some people say, well, he's doing it the way it's never been done before. And you're right, but it's never worked before either. And it came unraveling rather quickly. There's a ton of turnover again on the roster, a ton of turnover again on the coaching staff. I just don't know how you trust it and say, yeah, that's going to work great. I think there'll be some exciting moments, just like there were last year. There'll probably some upsets in there, just like there were last year. But I think when it all comes, do they go bowling? Which should be celebrated as a success. I know they won't. And then, the haters, because there are a lot of haters, will come out there and, poke the bear and make fun of them. But I think that's a step in the right direction of what you want for your program. I don't know how you can trust it other than believing, which is what Deion sells you on. You got to believe. And I can't live on that.
Do you believe?
Enough to take the over 5.5 at FanDuel Sportsbook. -115 to the over, -105 to the under. I mean, buddy, you want to talk about a great proposition and just throw out there for college football fans. Will Colorado make a bowl by even-ish money on each side? Just let the chaos reign.
I just did the math that equals more than 100%.
FanDuel, post the playoff odds. I mean, we got teams like Auburn listed on the potential playoff odds.
Right?
Colorado, post them. Come on, FanDuel. Come on. We got other teams that have just as good of a shot.
Oh, you want the yes, no? Oh, you want to get Colorado? Yes.
I want Washington. We got Washington. Yes, no. Like Colorado's got a better shot to make the playoff than Washington does, right?
All right. Before we get out of here,